Hello and welcome to more Haskell live learning. I'm actually on holiday this week, but Haskell never sleeps. So here we are again running some more Haskell. Actually, Haskell's lazy, so maybe it does sleep. Anyway, I hope I can remember how to code. I was looking at what I was doing last week, working in Servant. So I have a little web app that I can create environments, which are really just names and IDs. And then I can create bookings against those environments, but the bookings don't really work. They're just IDs linked to an environment and they have a start time. I think is all I have. And then last week I was in the middle of refactoring the code because my application got very long. I started pulling out some storage related stuff into a module called database and creating data access objects on top of that. The database itself is really just an in-memory collection, an in-memory list of things. I was moving some of the code out of the handlers because the handlers got very long and into this database. And I want to continue with that today. I had kind of forgotten where I got to, so I went and had a quick look at the code. And I think I found a bug in it as well, which is a little bit concerning. So let's jump back in and see where we got to and keep tying up handlers. So it seems like the last thing I did last week was just create environment. I still have get environment in the handler, so I need to move this out. All this end with booking stuff will move. Listing environments will move out. When I move listing environments, I'll add sorting as well because I forgot to do that. What have we done? So listing bookings has moved out. Creating bookings is still in here. I need to move this. So the bug I think I found is inside create environment, and it's a concurrency bug, I think. So I non-atomically read this counter and then to get an ID, and then I use the ID inside here, and then under atomically I'm saying read the table and then write it back out again with the addition of this new element. So I'm going to stick it on the front of the list, and that's all fine. And then I write the counter out after that, which I think is where the mistake is. So I actually, you could have two processes reading this counter and getting the same value out of it. And then atomically, I'm going to go and update it later. So you can have two things, both getting ID of 1, for example. They'll both create a new environment, setting that ID to 1. They'll both write themselves out. And then they'll both increment the counter to the successor. The successor should be safe, right? So it should go from 1 to 2 and then 2 to 3 when they both call this write tvar, because I'm just calling the successor. I'm not giving it a value. But we'll end up with two environments with the same ID. So what I think I need to do is somehow, maybe I could atomically do the whole thing, but I need to fetch I inside here, I think. So I need to read it, I need to remember what it is, I need to write a successor, but also remember what I is, so that I can then use it when I'm creating E. Now it's going to be a little bit tricky, perhaps. So read tvar is going to return this value I to me, I guess. But how do I remember it? Because what I could maybe do is, I don't know if I can do this or not, but maybe I could just keep going with this. So then read tvar table. I got a problem, right? So the return type from write tvar is this stm, which gets fed into atomically, I think. Yeah, but it's something under stm, but read tvar doesn't sorry, let's start again. So write tvar takes a tvar a and an a. So tvar a comes from here. We call read tvar. A is the second argument, so whatever the counter was with its successor, and then it returns something of type STM, in effect, type STM. And then that gets fed into atomically, so atomically presumably will take STMA to MA. So in this case it's STM void to STM, we're all under IO, so I'm guessing it's yeah, actually it's a good point, Will, but the multiple atomically lambda I'll come back to in a second. So STMA to MA is going to be STM void to IO void, which is fine because we actually ignore the result because it's void, it doesn't matter. But it means that we can't then pass this output, this STM void, into read tvar. So that doesn't work. Okay, the question about oops, I haven't typed all week, so it's going to be interesting today. What about the multiple atomic lines? It shouldn't. There's no reason why it's going to fail. It'll retry if it fails. So if you try and read this and write it, and in the interim, someone's come along and updated counter. In this case, my understanding is that it will notice that and then retry it. So this transaction effectively, this whole thing, will get retried if something has changed behind the scenes. I'm not sure it would fail in the traditional. I mean, it potentially could fail, I guess, but then you're going to get an exception thrown, and this whole thing will be, well, the whole program will crash anyway. But I don't think you will get this succeeding and then this line failing, but the program still being in some reasonable or well-defined state. So I don't think the succeed and failure thing is a problem. But I do think it's a problem to read from it outside of atomically and use it here. And then update it here because, as I said at the beginning, I think two different threads can read the same value and set the same value. So I really want this whole thing to happen atomically. Actually, let's have a look at STM. Actually, let's go to package. So what's the package with STM as a control mode? It's, oh, who knows? It gets re-exported. So let's look for, I'll go back to Google and look for write tvar. Succeed fail because probability success results in the dreaded side effect in a persistent database. Yeah, if it was a persistent database, then this whole thing would be different anyway. Like I would just use Postgres to track a counter for me, so I wouldn't need to do it myself. But yeah, if I really was trying to do two different commits which are part of creating an environment, then the transaction would need to wrap the whole thing. Right tvar. Where's V gone? Right tvar is in unlifted OSTM control concurrent STM. This is what I want, I think. So we actually, that's not really much use. It's taking me to the wrong package. But we can now search for concurrency. No. Or I can just go to package and look for control concurrent. In fact, I could probably just search for STM, it'll find it. Okay, so I probably want to look inside tvar. So we can read it. write it, modify it. But I need to know what it is first. I also didn't realize this was lazy. That's, I'm guessing write tvar is not lazy, but this lazy modification is a bit scary. Like modify tvar, but the function is a simple state transition that can return a side value which is passed on as a result of the STM. That might be the kind of thing I'm after, although there's going to be a state, so that would be quite difficult. Okay, maybe we can find a definition of atomically, because that's probably where the problem occurs. Control mode of STM, that's probably the thing I'm after. So from a series of STM actions atomically. Oh, sorry, the thing I was struggling with is I didn't know how to do these, give these two things to atomically. Right, so I want to do this, and also the reading all under atomically. So it's like I want to do atomically read tvar, tvar.io counter, right, and do this other thing. And I didn't really know how to do that. But I mean, the clue's in the name here, right? So didn't know how to do that. The answer is going to be do, because the arguments to atomically are it needs to take some kind of STM. So the do will allow me to have a sequence of these STMs together, basically. So now what I can do is just atomically the whole thing. So I'm going to make it more likely I'll need to come back to it in a second. It's going to make it more likely that we'll get collisions, I think. But yeah, because I'm doing more things, I think it's more likely that we'll get collisions and this will have to be retried. So performance-wise, it might have an impact, but it does at least keep it safe, which is probably more important. So the problem here is that these are my STMs returning A. Okay, so read tvar returns, sorry, write tvar, which is the last thing, returns void. Doesn't need to, it can just return purely inside here. But this is more difficult. Okay, so no instance for monad.io STM arising from use of read tvar.io. Wow. So okay, so that works okay, but it's not safe. But that does not work. Why does that not work? So read tvar.io, the type of read tvar.io is for all M. M is a monad.io. So why is it saying there's no instance for monad.io STM? Just sorry, get rid of this for a second. That's okay. Seemingly. Now I'm just going to get rid of the compiler errors for a second. No, I get the same error back. Okay. And I'm guessing, I'm just guessing here, but we can say I equals 0 that, oops. Why do you do multiple lets? Like that. Oh, interesting. Okay, I thought that would still error. I thought we'd now moved error just down to here. But that's not the case. Okay, so it's something to do with this. It doesn't like retrieve.io counter. Oh. That. Okay, because we're underneath atomically. I was trying to use retrieve.io, and retrieve.io is equivalent of atomically retrieve.r. So I was doing atomically, then atomically again, and that didn't work. Okay, so that's maybe fixed my IO problem. Oh, my IO problem, my concurrency bug, because everything now is happening in a single transaction. So I can't, if I read my understanding of STM, which is pretty limited, but anyway, saying STM is that if I read this counter and then I try and use it, so like here where I'm trying to write the successor out and something has modified it in between, then STM should notice. Actually, now we come back to Will's question of what happens if this succeeds and this fails, but I think because it's atomically, either everything succeeds or nothing succeeds. So we should be okay, I think. I don't know. We'll find out when we put this under load and get unexpected concurrency bugs later. Okay, I should probably test that still works. Oops, probably build it would be a good idea. Okay, I'm now building it pedantically, and it's finding a whole bunch of errors I missed before. An orphan instance. Okay, let's give me two fixes here. So I'm not sure about this anyway, so I've moved the encodings into the room module, and I've left the types themselves over here, and I kind of feel like the encoding could easily live with the types. So I'm a little bit tempted to do that. Actually, I'm just going to grab environment ones first. Do we serialize environment booking? We do, but later on. Okay, so environment instances are here. I'll go and grab that. Grab that. Grab that. And I will grab that, I think. Oh, for goodness sake. That one. And then I'll add overloaded strings. Okay. So that was that one. Then we will grab this one. Sorry, what the error on booking? Yep. So booking, we will add that, which is cool, I think. And then this one we'll add here because we don't need to read it, we just need to serialize into it. Then we should just be able to delete the file. Okay. Then we got 2 errors are probably in main because I was probably importing it. And now we got 1 error, which you can't tell me about because it thinks it's inside encoding. Good. So let's go back to cabal file. It's probably that line. I'll just give language server a chance to catch up. It's not super happy. Let's try building it again. Okay, I think we're getting better. Yep. Those are good errors. I can cope with those in a sense. So, first of all of this stuff, I probably want to get rid of. I don't want to name every import, just import prelude. And then there was a just I didn't like, but I can't remember what it was. So that was line 83. 83. It was not 83. That was not the case. Oops. Thing. Says it's line 83. Oh, just delete some code, haven't I? That'll be why. So it'll be just do. Okay. Case find environment. Why are we not using the environment? So when we create a booking, oh, I see. Yes, when we create an environment, it just needs to exist. We don't actually use it. We're just assuming that because this M by D worked, then it exists, so the booking should work. Okay, build that again. Hooray! Didn't actually mean to copy the binaries, but anyway. So we're going to do stack run, I think, and then we'll bring up another window, and then we can curl, and we have some environments. That's cool. Like a curl minus D or something, minus H. Yep. Okay, just create a test environment, and then we can list them. Excellent. Okay, cool. Well, excellent, as in like it still works. I guess that's, let's take the wins where I can get them. Okay, so listing environments, I was going to move into DB. It should be nice and quick. And then I'm going to sort it as well. That was the thing that we weren't doing. So in the DB, so we can create an environment. We also want to say list environments. What's it going to do? It's going to go from DB to a list of DAO.environment, but it's going to do this under IO. We need to get to tvars. So list environments. Just destructure. The only thing we need out of here, I think, is environments. Equals, and then I mean, a simple thing to do here would just be return a table. Would not be, that would be to just call read tvar IO of the table. What else do we do? We didn't do anything else. We just read tvar IO, and then we need to lift it into IO because here we're under appm, not under IO. Okay, that's a very simple version. We're not sorting it yet, but we will use this first and then sort it. So we'll export create environment, list environments, and list bookings. And then if we go back to here, when we import this, we import it hiding list environments. Put it in the right place. Okay, and then in here, list environments would simply be db.list environments. We need to get the db. So you can just do ask. We cannot. Who's before? So list bookings. Is it as simple as lift IO here? Apparently it is. Okay, I'm not sure that's actually clearer than writing out a slightly longer form here that explains what we're doing, but ask will get the DB back. We can just push it straight into DB list bookings, but we need to lift into IO as well. Right, check that works. So I stop that for a second and then run it again. See what it's done. It's running now. Okay, so I ask for the environment. There's only one, and then we will create test. Ask another 2. That's good. So we haven't broken it, which is cool. But let's go and fix this so we sort them as well. Did we have another sort somewhere? I think we already wrote sort for end with bookings. Sort on is what I want. Okay, so we read it, we get a value back. And then can we do sort on? What would do? So sort on in the function and then the thing. So we can say from maybe from maybe that, or the other function we're going to call is environment ID, something, env ID. And do we want to, we don't want to map it over, we want to apply it to, but I don't think that's, all right, let's write long form and see if I can reduce it. So we get M's as that. And then we want to say sort on, I mean, the ideal thing would be n by d of M's. And the error we get here is, oh, first of all, n by d is in DAO package. That's annoying. Okay. And now we get, we can't match a list with IO. Okay. So this sort on should work. I'll see if that works and I'll come back and see if I can reduce this to some shorter one-line version of noise that I don't really understand. Just for fun. So one thing, I'll create a test, get them back again, and they're now sorted, which is kind of cool. Can I make this one line? So feels like you should take this. So we go from M in this case is IO. So the tvar of A to IO of A. So table here is a list environment. So we should go from tvar list environments to IO of list environments. And then I want to apply something to A inside IO. Right. So I thought I could do that using an implicative, but I don't know if I've misunderstood. Well, I think I have misunderstood something here. What do I say? So on DAO.m/d. So this error couldn't match type list of DAO environment with A0 to IO DAO environment. Sort and applied to too many arguments. Okay, so this isn't going to work. Because read tvar gives me back an IO an IO list of environments, and sort on here expects it just to be a normal list of environments, not under IO. So I really want to take this and run this in the IO monad. So it's like I have a, this is Haskell, sorry. What have I got? I've got some kind of MA, and I have a function which goes from A to B. Oops. And I want to give me back a list of MB. There's no point in searching this because it's not finding anything. But that's what I want. It suggests it's fmap. I don't think it is so, but maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it is. I can just do this. It is indeed fmap. Okay. Does it work? Maybe one day I'll understand they could do it as well. Not today. Okay, it still works. So I can add stuff and then I get sorted. So that's cool. So that was listing the environment. I'm also going to, while I'm here, I might as well sort these. So we can say sort on DAO dot, what's this, a booking, so booking ID. Oops. That's that. So we should now be sorting bookings as well. We're listing environments. Getting the environment is a lot of work. So let's do that next, I guess. Why not? So the environment's fine, but you also need to get the bookings with it. Is that right? Yeah, because this says if we find one, then we do end with bookings. So what's happening here, it's returning a maybe. This is a maybe env, and then we decorate it. So maybe we can have something inside the DB which will return a maybe end with booking. Go for that, I think. So here we'll say get environment. And it's going to take a DB, and it should take an ID, and it's going to return an IO maybe, and then brackets on this, an IO of maybe DAO.environment with booking. Didn't want the constructor, I just want the type. There's no ID. Do we spell DAO? We do not. Let's quickly go into DAO. Export that. Okay. So get environment. And we'll destructure the DB just to get the table out. And the ID is equal to let's just do pure nothing. Second. Okay. Oh, not there. Go back to main. So we need to. We've got all the environments out of the database. That's already happened. No, because we need to read the tvar. Sorry, that's a lie. So we want to get the environments by calling read tvar. Then if we have it, like we find environment, then we'll stick all the bookings on it, and if we don't, we'll return nothing. Oops, missed. Let's do this here. Okay. So ems comes from read tvar.io of table, and then case find. So I can just paste this much quicker if I can jump between the right files, correct files. So if we get nothing back, we just return nothing, that's fine. So we're looking for this thing, just as actually ID. Okay, so looking at the environments to find an environment where its ID matches the ID we've been given, that's fine. We find it, then we just end with bookings. I'll just copy that because okay. A second, I'll just paste it in for a second. So we need, this is not going to take, it's not going to be running under appm. So we can go db to this. So we're going to take a DB, we're going to take an environment thing we just found, and we are going to return an IO environment with booking. Okay, these things come from the DAO. Okay, so it's going to take db and e. I'm going to call it db, which means we're going to capture it. So we'll say db at that. And then here we'll pass it in. And if we got it, we're going to return just that. So there's going to be an easy way of writing this in a second as well. Yeah, okay. So this is returning something .io and and it's that. Same problems before. Okay, cool. So here we're going to get the bookings out of the database we've been given. We're not going to get it from Ask because we don't have Ask, but we're going from DB. So I can just destructure in here. Not a record constructor. Good point. DB. Okay, so all the bookings are going to come from the table. So again, everything's called for by DAO. Okay, so what are we returning? We're returning a new environment booking. Why is it from maybe here? I'll have a look in a second. Okay. Actually, let's see if this works first of all. So just copy some code around. So to get environment, we look at the environment in the database in this list of environments. We find it, then we decorate it with bookings. So what does this do? It gets all the bookings on the database and then filters them to find the ones where the env-id matches. Then it sorts the bookings. And then it returns a new environment booking where the ID is the env-id. Is that right? What's inside environment booking? Yeah, it's just env-id. Oh, I see. It's the fields from the environment. Right. So it's env-id, which comes from the environment. It's name, which comes from environment. And it's sorted bookings. And the reason we need from maybe is because this type is probably maybe. Yes, maybe ID. But environment booking has only got an ID. It's a non-maybe thing. Okay. So I'll export this. So let's get environment, and then here we can import from DB, not from here, sorry, in main we can import from DB. Hiding get environment. Okay, so env bookings we can just totally get rid of. And then in here, we should be able to say what are we doing here? So it's not a string. We'll come back in a second. Right. Get rid of this is into database. And then we need to lift out of db dot environment db will come from ask and the ID is I. Okay, but this will return a nothing and we want to be we want to do some work with a nothing. So actually I'm going to say do here and we will say how much type of DB with array of characters? Expected DB actual type string. Oh my, it's the wrong way around. That's why. Actually, I'm going to fix that so that it's easier to call. It should actually be data ID and then the DB and then that. So we just flip these around quickly. Okay, so now I can do this. It's kind of okay, but expected type ID, actual type is that. That's a bit confusing. Oh, it's not ID, it's I. That's right. I shouldn't call things ID because it gets confusing. So let's just call it I. Okay, so we're going to, this is going to return to us either the environment decorated with the bookings or nothing. So we can say case of this. So we get just E is E. And nothing is just throw error. Okay, and this is now confusing me. Okay, so db.getEnvironment returns a maybe of down environment with booking under IO. Of course. Okay. So E can be that. I can say case E of that. With more ofs. This becomes pure. Okay. Right, so we run this to get the value of E. And then if we have an E, then we just return it. Otherwise, we throw this thing. And then in DB, we have a similar thing, I think, where we are calling case. But actually, what can we do here? We want to have a function that I want to apply to the result of this. If it finds anything. Right, so this find is of type maybe env. Tell me there. It's say maybe a, but it's a maybe environment. And then we're going to take end with bookings and apply it to that. It takes my own DB. And that's it, isn't it? That is not it. I was trying to be clever and didn't work. So find. Right. The expected type is IO of maybe DAO, which makes sense. The actual type is IO of maybe of IO. Oh, there's a way to do this. So the pure is not doing the right thing here. But it's like if you have maybe IO to swap those around, so you get IO of maybe. And what is the thing that does that for me? It says it's maybe of M of A to M of maybe of A, I think. So maybe of MA to M of maybe A. What's that called? I'm sure I've seen it before. See if I can find it for me. Sequence A, T of F of A to F of T of A, but T has to be a traversable. Don't think that's the case here. We're not vectors. What was the other one? It's also vectors. Okay, that's not it. I'm sure I could do this somehow. That's more explicitly what I want, but I don't think that's going to help. Nope. Because IO is not traversable. Oh no, it's maybe traversable. Because actually this seems to be applicative. It's only the outer, so T in this case is maybe, that needs to be traversable. So it is maybe traversable. What's the question even mean? So info of maybe, tell me what it is. It is traversable. Okay, so I can say sequence. There wasn't sequence, was it? The sequence A or something? Sequence A. Of that. Wow. No, why not? Okay. Oh, back here. So what I've done here is just drop the case statement out. So what I wanted to do was find returns maybe. I want to apply M with bookings to it. Which runs under IO, and then use sequence A to basically move the maybe from the outer monad to the inner monad. Or technically it moves traversable into the swaps to traversable it moves traversable under the applicative. I think is what it was doing. Anyway, okay, this other case I think I can get rid of as well, in theory. So E has come up from here, so you can say from maybe. I think this gives the nothing case. And the maybe value. This might not work because this E is no good to me. It needs to be pure E, because I was thinking I could do something like, I could do pure here. I cannot even do that. So what's going on here? Can't match type maybe A0 with environment as booking. Expected type is, this is the full return type then. So it expects reader TDB handler environment booking, and it's got maybe. So from maybe is perhaps not the thing I want. What does from maybe do? A, in this case, nothing. That's not the right type. To maybe A, which should be E. No, this is not right at all. Okay, screw that. I'll put the case statement back in again. I think I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not sure how to make it simpler. Yeah, because I was thinking if it was E, I could just return E, otherwise I threw the error, but that's not what's happening, because actually, if it's E, I can't just return E, I have to return it as part of this appm environment with booking. So I'm going to leave that as it is. Okay, that was get environment. Create environment, list bookings. I feel like I can make these shorter. Lift.io dot db dot create environment E. That won't work because here I've got these when we, no, it's fine. DB first, then the environment. It's not fine. I want to do it this way around. And then I just swap these arguments. Okay. And then can I do that? Interestingly, no. I cannot do that because that's going to do. Can match type DB to environment IO appm environment. Expected type is environment to IO appm environment. It's kind of like that, but that's still not going to help, is it? Because now what? So expect type is environment to environment to IO of up environment, and it gets environment db to IO environment. So it's like this is being applied to no arguments. So this is a form that works. So we partially apply this. Oh, I think what's happening is if I leave it out, that we end up with this, which doesn't work. Could we partially, like if I swap the arguments back again, so it takes the db first, would that work? Just out of curiosity now. So take the db first, so we partially apply that, and then we apply the environment to it. So db to that. And here, if I bracket this, does it work? It does not work. The reduction is fine, it's not my concern, but here I couldn't match environment to IO environment with IO to appem environment. App environment will return here, and it returns something of type IO environment. Is it to lift IO as well? So cannot do that at all. Or can we? Can we move the lift IO outside? No. Let's just put it back to where it was. It's not going to work. So that's the correct way around, except that this now needs to take db as a second argument. So we'll take the environment as the first argument, and then db is the second. Feels like we should be able of doing this. I just don't know what it is. Doesn't really matter. I mean, it's only one extra character, but it pains me. 2 extra characters, it's pretty bad. This one should be easier. So lift IO and db dot list bookings db. Oops. Create booking. It's the wrong file, so I'm going to move that, but I'll maybe move that next week. Okay, so I'm making these shorter. That's good. I mean, handlers I think are doing more handlier things. So we're dealing with the appem. Yeah, I think that's okay. They're dealing with the appem. It's specifically getting the database out, and then they're passing it into this DB module. So now this DB module is nothing about my application, which I think is good. It means it's kind of self-contained. I've shortened some of these a little bit. I don't know if I've made them more readable, but they're definitely shorter. I fixed this atomically bug. I presumably have got another one in create bookings, which I haven't put in yet. Haven't moved into here. Actually, create bookings should be quite simple, should it? No, it's more complicated because I need to deal with the case where we can't find stuff. So I guess it's going to be like getting the environment. Yeah, so I guess it'll have to return a maybe booking when I create the booking. and it'll return nothing if it couldn't find the environment. Don't know if that's really a nothing or if that's an error. I think that's probably more of an error, so I might deal with that as an either. Is this a nothing or is it? That's interesting as well. Yeah, I think this is a nothing. This is like you ask for an environment and you get nothing back. That's okay. This one I think will be an error where you're saying I want to create this booking. It's not you get nothing back, it's that creating the booking failed. So I think that will stay as an either. So I'll write a helper which turns an either booking. Either left error or right is booking. I'll move this stuff into there. I'll fix the atomically. So all of this happens under the atomically. But I'm going to do it next week because we're running out of time now. Yeah, but then hopefully I'll end up with handlers which are just dealing with getting stuff out from the reader, calling a function, and then returning that in a way that makes sense to servant. There was one thing I was going to fix actually before I go, which is this should not be a string, it should be an ID. So we're not going to capture this as a string. We're going to capture this as a DAO.id. And then hopefully that should give me a type error somewhere. No, it doesn't care because it's straightforward type alias. Let's create booking. That's not what I did. This is the one I did, get environment. Should be like that. Why is ID working? Oh, because this is unqualified. Does it create problems? Yes, it creates problems if I do that. How many? 17. Let's not do that now. Okay, so I can come back and fix that later. But I just need to qualify everything inside here. Right, anyway. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Next week I'll come back and move to create booking so that my handlers are just more about handling stuff and less about dealing with the database. And then maybe we can actually start looking at bookings properly. But it's kind of more fun just playing with type errors, I think. Actual working applications are no fun at all. Cool. All right, thanks for watching along. Thanks for questions about STM. We have to learn how STM works, I guess, to answer those definitively. But yeah, hopefully see you next week. Goodbye.